Yes, mates, how's it going? My name's Lee, and welcome back to the FPL Punk YouTube channel, where we try to dominate FPL one game week at a time. In today's video, I'll do a quick recap of my current game week and look ahead at some fixture data, team selection for game week 16, where I think I might play my bench boost, and finish up by looking at some transfer targets. We've kindly been gifted 5 free transfers ahead of AFCON, and heads up, I've already gone early on one of them, with at least 2 more in the pipeline. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Anyway, let's rock and roll.
Get strong.
Alright mates, first of all, I'm recording this before the Man United Wolves game. Kicks off in about half an hour, so by the time I post this, the United game would have already started and would already have some information of how well United are doing, how well Bruno Fernandes is doing. Since the last video, my rank absolutely plummeted to about 900k. I've gone up so far in this game week to 620k. 48 points so far. A couple of moves have worked out pretty well for me. I took a hit last week. Took out a couple of players and brought in Foden and O'Reilly for a -4. They've both done well. They both returned. But you can see on the bench there that I've got some decent points on the bench there as well. It is what it is. With Munoz missing out, I did think that maybe Richards might have missed out as well, but wasn't to be. So I've got Shalaba with the 11-pointer on the bench, which is really disappointing. But like I said, like it is what it is, and I really hope one day that they do remove auto subs. It kind of removes some of the skill from the game, in my opinion, where you should pick your team and that's your team set. Like no lucky breaks and no lucky outcomes. That's the team you pick. If someone doesn't play, then is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it happens. I think it puts more emphasis on players that play well, because the issue with the bench is that a lot of times you'll have a cheap goalkeeper, usually like a Dubravka. You'll have one decent option on the bench and the other two are kind of cheapos. So, like in my case, I've got Mukiele and Calvert-Lewin, but like ideally that would be someone like a Mukiele and a Matt Guerra who's just really cheap. So the bench is almost pointless, really, like up until you come to a bench boost. Like ideally, I could just wish that there was, whoever you played, that's the points you get. People get bench jam, some people do, some people don't. Wasn't my week this week. I wish they removed it from the game, but that's my personal opinion. Or they allow us to make changes over the course of the game week, similar to how Champions League game does it, how Sky used to do it. I can see them doing something like that, where you can make changes throughout the game week. Maybe not so much transfers, but you can make subs. I think they'll also change captaincy rules as well, where potentially you can have multiple captains, or you can change captaincy from one player to the next. But this week has gone pretty well for me so far. I mean, I think I'm only 2 or 3 points off my safety score, so that's the point. That's like the level of me getting a green arrow or a red arrow. Still got Bruno to play, like I said, who's I think should do well. Captaincy's just not done it for me the past couple of weeks. It wouldn't surprise me if this week Bruno Fernandes scores and returns and Haaland blanks, because I captained Haaland this week. I captained Bruno Fernandes last week, and it's like I said, it's just one of those. You know what I mean? Pretty happy defense. Like I said, like I wish I started Shalaba over kind of any of them really. I thought Bournemouth would be tough. They got a goal disallowed early on. They could have given a penalty away. Like there's a few different, like there's a few scenarios there where it might not have gone my way. Verbruggen's probably not the greatest pickup right now, but he's still got some decent fixtures and decent games coming up. So cheap goalkeeper, only 4.4, and that's one of the reasons why I did go for him in the end. Midfield is where kind of a lot of the points are. Bruno Guimaraes is just coming in. Back-to-back returns for me now. Love him as a pickup. I think he's almost like a poor man's Declan Rice at this point, where he's now the highest scoring midfielder in the game, I believe. Guimaraes kind of does it all: goals, assists, the occasional defensive contributions in there as well, and fixtures aren't bad. So I like him as a pickup. Foden's on fire, and as long as he is on fire, and as long as he's playing, it's just an easy pickup for me. I think if you don't own him, it's just an easy buy in my opinion. So that's what it is. Could have been a better game week if Haaland returned, or maybe I had the guts to go and captain like a Foden or a Guimaraes or even a Bruno Fernandes again. I didn't. It is what it is. Let's look at some fixture data for the next few game weeks. Right, mate. So I'm using Solio Analytics for this next section. On the left hand side, we've got the predicted goals between game week 16 and game week 20. I've ordered it by total of goals over that period, and you can see Man City at the top with a predicted 10 to 11 goals over the 5-game stretch. Then Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United. Man United probably a little favourable to be up there. particularly with Mbumo going off, like whether there's a change in personnel where Fernandez moves into the 10, probably Mainu comes into the 6. That is something that we might see. So I do think Fernandez is going to be still going to be a decent pickup over this period. Teams I'd probably look to avoid are the teams down at the bottom there: Burnley, Wolves, Sunderland, Leeds United, Nottingham Forest from a goal scoring point of view, West Ham. They just don't score enough goals, so they're the teams I'd be looking to avoid. I'd be looking to use those 5 free transfers that we've been given to look at the kind of like a bigger stretch, like even teams like Brentford where they've only really got one main scorer in Thiago or maybe Sharda as well. That's where I'd be looking at teams like that, like not necessarily like who's scoring the most goals, like who's taking up the most chances from there. So from Man City's is obviously Haaland. That's where I'd be looking to use my transfers from a goal scoring point of view. In terms of clean sheets, Arsenal are always going to be top. They're only predicted to get 2.2 clean sheets over the next 5. Being a bit harsh on them, I think. I think they're capable of maybe 3 or 4. They're solid at home. They've got Wolves, Everton, Brighton, Aston Villa, Bournemouth. Nice little run for Arsenal here now. I think I'm doubled up. There is a potential for me to triple up. It would probably have to be in the defence, which I don't actually love, to be honest. I quite like the kind of setup I've got right now of not having too many expensive defenders and putting money elsewhere. I haven't got room for Declan Rice, so I think if you are doubled up, tripling up is probably good over this next period. If you can, it kind of works with your team as well. Man City still up there. They've improved massively defensively. I've been quite impressed with them recently. Liverpool is probably a little bit optimistic. I think they're kind of relying on past performances, but they look very kind of, they look soft. They look like they can be got at. Very nervous, very kind of shaky. I think as long as teams keep attacking them, I think they're gonna continue to concede goals. Van Dijk just doesn't look at it right now. Like that whole beef he had with Rooney, like Rooney's just shown to be right. As we all thought at the time. So I'd avoid Liverpool. I think if you had Van Dijk, would I sell him? I'm not sure. Brighton, Spurs, Wolves, Leeds, Fulham over the next few. Don't love Brentford are quite high, so I think the likes of Collins, Vandenberg. I'd probably prefer Vandenberg over Collins. I think Collins is the better option. And if everything was fine, I'd go Collins over Vandenberg. I'm gonna look at some transfer targets because I've included Collins in that as well, which I do think I have gone for Collins, but there's a specific reason around that. Is that he's on 4 yellow cards. You get 5, you get banned up to game week, up until the end of game week 19. So he's got to get past that point before he can get another yellow card. And his price point is 4.9 million. Is Collins. Vandenberg is 4.5. So there's a couple of factors there. I like them both. Maybe I should go for Vandenberg instead of Collins, but I do quite like them both, to be honest. There's a few other teams that I kind of want to point out. Crystal Palace, even though they've got Man City in 16, in 17, 18, 19, they've got Leeds, Spurs and Fulham. Nice little 3-game stretch for them there. I think Newcastle's are decent, but besides that Man United game in the middle where they are capable of keeping a clean sheet, we're very hit and miss. Brighton there, where they've got 2 really tough games in Liverpool and Arsenal in 16 and 18. Outside of that, they do have Sunderland, West Ham and Burnley. So I think if you've got your Bruggans like me, if you've got your Van Hecker, De Kuyper, who looks like he's playing left wing, good option there as well. There's a few teams I probably wouldn't look at now, like if you don't already own. If you've got any Bournemouth defenders, I probably won't want to buy them. I'd probably keep them for that Burnley game in 17. So like if you've got Sinessa, probably wouldn't go out there and kind of buy any right now, even from a goal scoring point of view. There's only really the Burnley game where they're going to look to score a couple of games. So like if you've still got Semenyo, like maybe keep him up until 17 and kind of move things on from there. But there's a few different, there's a few nice options there. And the last team I want to point out is Fulham. We've got a nice little 3-game stretch now of Burnley, Nottingham Forest and West Ham. Even Crystal Palace in game week 19 isn't too bad for them as well, where if you've got like your Andersons, some people might have Burnley, I know. Probably not too convinced from that point of view. You can also see from the goals there as well, like if you've got like a Harry Wilson, if you've got an Iwobi, a Raul Jimenez, all still decent options. But let's move ahead. I'm going to take a look at my team selection for game week 16. Right, mate, so this is my full team selection for game week 16. You can see the bench boost is highlighted in green. I am considering playing it for this. If I make multiple transfers, I probably will play it. Not the greatest selection of goalkeepers in Verbruggen and Dubravka. If I was to force to play, I'd probably stick with Verbruggen, you know. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Brighton go away, beat Liverpool 2-0. Verbruggen comes away with like an absolute monster score just from the amount of saves and the clean sheet and the bonus and everything involved in that. I have got Chris Richards, Mukiele, and Calvert-Lewin on the bench. I am considering making more transfers, and if I do make more transfers, hit the bench boost there as well. I've still got 4 free transfers, and you can see down at the bottom there, I've already made 1 free transfer. I've taken Mateta and gone from Thiago. I did that on Saturday, I believe, so even before the Crystal Palace game, I just saw enough of Crystal Palace from the last couple of games, and they just look tired. Don't love them from kind of any point of view, to be honest. I think Chris Richards is still fine. Defensively, they're still going to be fine. Your Lacroix, your Chris Richards, Munoz, like if he comes back, like we actually don't know what's happened with him, like whether it's whether he got dropped, injury, some kind of investigation. I'm staying out of that. Like, I'm not getting involved with that, mate. But Chalobah, O'Reilly, and Timber are my 3 defenders. Really solid. Like, I really like them. Chalobah up against Everton. 2 home games where they've got Everton at home, Emma playing Chelsea, and Arsenal playing Wolves at home. I did consider bringing in a 3rd Arsenal defender. That would probably only be Hinchcapi, I think. He's probably the only one that I could really afford, but it doesn't work with the rest of my potential transfers. And we'll take a look at those in a moment. Bruno Fernandes is just going to tick along. He's going to get defensive contributions. He's going to get assists. He's going to get goals. He's going to get penalties. He's just a monster, mate. And I don't see myself selling him anytime soon, especially with Mbeumo going off to 2 African combinations. He might become more talismanic than what he's been for us this season, where it feels like more emphasis has been put on Mbeumo. Like, he's been more of the attacking outlet. It could go back onto Bruno Fernandes in this. Saka, he's kind of wanted to deceive, or whatever the saying is. You know, he's done okay. He's a lot of money. Declan Rice is outscoring him. Could this be a position here where I could move at some point? Probably not this week. Probably not for the next couple of weeks, because they've got Arsenal have got good games. Stick with him for now. I don't see the need to kind of force this one and kind of rush it right now. If I did fancy it, he would be the next captaincy option. I've currently got it on Haaland. I'd love to take a gamble on someone like a Saka, but I just don't see enough right now where he's just a little bit inconsistent. Like, he's just not returning on a regular basis, and so because of that, I've just gone to default. I've just gone to Haaland. I could take a gamble on like a Thiago there as well. Bruno Guimaraes, Sunderland away. Going to be a really tough game. Could go anyway. Sunderland have probably dropped their levels in the past couple of weeks. Newcastle probably raised theirs. I could see this being a 1-1. Couple of red cards. It could be 2 red cards on the same team, you know. So could go either way, to be honest. One team could smash the other one, but Bruno Guimaraes is kind of there or thereabouts in any game, from a goal return or defensive contributions or even like a disciplinary thing of like yellow card, red card. Like, he's just all action, and so because of that, he's just an easy play for me. Phil Foden is I feel like he's like FPL player in the moment. Like, his price is just going absolutely crazy. I got him on free hit. Didn't buy him the week after. Bought him in the week after that. And his price had already risen to like 8.4 or like whatever it was. So his price is going crazy. This week probably isn't the time to buy him. Probably next week. Like, if you can hold off for a week, like, I know his price is going crazy and there's a lot of like FOMO going around. I think if you can hold off for a week, I'd probably wait till next week. And Elliot Anderson, it just feels like a plug and play. It doesn't feel like I need to mess around with this. He's going to get a kind of like a floor of 4 points up against a inconsistent Spurs team. Anderson's at home, occasional set pieces, takes late penalties. I'm just not going to mess around. Haaland has only got one goal in the last 3 games. Blank in a couple of games before that. But again, I just don't see the point in messing around with this one. Up against a tired Crystal Palace team. Yeah, I just don't see the point in messing around. Thiago, I actually don't love the transfer of Thiago. A little bit of FOMO. He's on 4 yellow cards. If he gets booked, he will miss the next game. Just kind of keep that in mind. Feels like very much like a penalty merchant. But he's up against Leeds. In decent form. Brentford are good. Are just really good at home. I just can't see a world in where people aren't going to buy him for this game week. So I've already brought him in. I've already done it, and I like it. Looks good. Would I captain him? I think people will and will be tempted. but not for me, mate. He's just too reliant on penalties. I know that's part of the game, but they've gotten a lot of penalties recently. I don't know how many they've had. Like it feels like they've had about 12. It's probably about 6. He was really good. He was really good against Man United, where he scored a couple of goals. I've not been too impressed outside of that, to be honest. I do like Dango. I do like Sharda. I like the defence. I like Kelleher, Collins, Vandenberg. They've got a lot of good options. They've got a decent run of games here now where I think people might start moving on to them. But this is what my team is currently looking like for Game Week 16. Let's take a look at my transfer targets and how that will impact the rest of the team. So these 3 here are my main goalkeeper and defender potential transfers, and I've gone for Nathan Collins. I kind of mentioned it before about the kind of 50-50 between Collins and Vandenberg. It could go either way. I do prefer Collins, and if he wasn't on 4 yellow cards and he was a little bit closer in price, like, it would be a much easier decision to go for Collins. But I think Vandenberg's a great option. I don't think he's been booked at all this season. He's got decent attacking data. They've both got decent attacking data, so I think you could go for either, to be honest. For me, it probably just come down to I might just flip a coin, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, leave a comment down below. Kind of say Collins for Collins or Vandenberg for Vandenberg, and just let me know who you would go for out of those two. We've already kind of spoken about some fixtures. I just kind of wanted to leave them on the side there as I'm talking through the players. You can see Brentford there. I've got Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth, Spurs, and Everton. Even though the Bournemouth and Spurs fixtures are great, like we have seen Bournemouth not score. They drew 0-0 with Chelsea. We've seen Spurs be inconsistent, so I think they're all decent games for Brentford. So, like, if you like I said a moment ago, like, if you've got your Thiagos and your Shardas and your Angles and blah blah blah, I think kind of play them in most of these games. I think they're all pretty good options. And then I just felt the need to include an Arsenal defender. I did put Inchkapi where it could be any of the other ones. I think Saliba's too much of a doubt to include him. Timber's the obvious one. Calafiori could be on there. I can't quite get that. If I'm thinking about the other moves as well, then I can't quite stretch that far. David Raya's another one. Not worth it for me, and he's just too expensive for a goalkeeper, and I can't stretch that much to go and get him. Lewis Skelly, I just don't think he's going to start as often. I think Ben White might be decent, but that's just too reliant on Saliba being injured, where Timber's going to play centre-back and then Ben White can play right-back. I just don't love it, to be honest. But they've got good games. So I can see people going there and going for like Inchkapi or a Lewis Skelly or a Calafiori, where they've got Wolves, Everton, Brighton, Villa, Bournemouth over the next 5. Then I've got Joaquin Anderson on there as well. Really cheap, 4.5 million, and they've just got a nice run of games over the next 3, where they've got Burnley, Forest, and West Ham, followed by Crystal Palace, which is his old team. So I do love a bit of like ex-players going back and playing against their previous teams. It's just kind of like almost like a potential revenge kind of game, do you know what I mean? But they're my main defensive transfer targets for Game Week 16. I'm probably going to bring at least 2 of them in. It's probably going to be a Brentford defender and Anderson as well. And if I do that, like I said before, I'm probably going to bench boost on top of that. The players I take out would be both my bench defenders, so it would be Chris Richards. Chris Richards is the same price as Joaquin Anderson. Like, to me, it makes sense. I don't trust Crystal Palace. They've got maybe one good game over the next kind of 5, which is Leeds away, but Leeds are decent from time to time, and they could easily score there. And then we've got a Brentford defender, which we've already spoke about them, and that would probably come in from Mukiele, where I think I bought him a 4.1 or 4. He's kind of around that price. So it would either cost me 0.8 to get up to Collins or 0.4 to get to Vandenberg. Probably just thinking about it now, like, it probably make more sense to go to Vandenberg and keep the money in the bank to maybe look at other things as well. But it's something I can play around over the next couple of days. But let's take a look at my potential midfield and forward options for Game Week 16. So if I didn't already bring Thiago in, Thiago would be at the bottom there, and it would follow the exact same trend as the defenders of having a Fulham, Arsenal, and Brentford player in there. I think they're the teams that I like the most over the next 2 or 3, and that's the reason why I've kind of gone for them. I do love Raul Jimenez, and I'm very, very tempted to transfer out Calvert-Lewin, bring in Raul Jimenez. He's not done well over the last 4, but he's only got 2 goals, 3 assists over the course of the season. But like we've already said, they're playing Burnley, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Crystal Palace over the next 4. It doesn't like he's got too much competition. He's getting decent minutes. I just think he's solid, mate. I might just do it. Like he's not much more expensive than Calvert-Lewin. Only 6.2. play my bench boost, hopefully get a decent return there. If I play it this week, then I don't have to worry about any kind of potential bannings from the likes of Thiago, who's on 4 yellow cards, Nathan Collins, who's on 4 yellow cards. I can just play it, get it over the line, see what happens. And then I have to include Declan Rice just because he's just been, I feel like he's averaging about 6-7 points a game at the minute. He's just been on absolute fire this season. Like, if it's not defensive contributions, it's goals, it's assists, set pieces. I just can't fit him in. I would love to fit him in. I just can't. Like, for me, it would have to be Elliot Anderson, and maybe I could get there, but I don't love that much, to be honest. Maybe it's something I could do, and maybe I could move some things around to potentially do it. Just don't love it. I think if you have got room for him and you can get him in, I would go for it because I've got good games coming up, and I think he's just going to keep ticking along and just keep doing what he's doing. Last but not least, we've got Danny Welbeck, 6.6 million. He doesn't have a great fixture in 16, so if I brought Danny Welbeck in over Raul Jimenez, I'd probably wouldn't bench boost this week. I'd probably wait until 17, which puts more pressure on my team to kind of avoid any kind of suspensions, where they've got 3 good games over the next 5. They've got Sunderland in 17, West Ham in 19, Burnley at home in 20, so good options. I think if you've got a Minter, a Adikopa, a Van Hecker, Verbruggen, Welbeck, play them. They've got a nice little run. I wouldn't even worry too much Liverpool away. I'd still play them, to be honest. I think they could easily do something in that game, but because of that, like, it has to be on the short list. If you think I've missed any potential transfer targets, leave a comment down below and let me know who you're thinking of bringing in for Game Week 16. Right, mates, that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. So we looked at we did a quick review of Game Week 15, seeing where I'm up to, how many points I've gotten so far. Looked at my team for Game Week 16 and then the potential transfers with the 5 free transfers we've gotten. I think I'm making some big moves, potential bench boost in the works. Might just do it, you know, mate. I might just bring in the players I want to bring in. I'm going to keep an eye on some price changes, some price rises, any kind of price falls. And then I might pull the trigger. I might just go bench boost and go all out. Game Week 16, try and get as many points as I can and just keep going forward. Have a good day. Peace and love. Subscribe if you're new. All the usual stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Peace and love.